omisitse letsogo ke go bolela go working group ya pele.
Number 1 here. Number 2. Number 3.
I share the same sentiments that somehow maybe because somewhere that they were repetitive, so if they can be summarized in a certain way, it will help.
And what I noted down would be some of our creatives don't make money, but maybe an intervention would be, do you make money out of this? If yes, then we can elaborate, and then if no, then we can elaborate. We can still deduce what it is exactly that we're trying to get.
People are given a paragraph 2 about UNESCO and culture. First of all, UNESCO is the only UN agency that has been mandated to make sure that culture issues are addressed in all development goals. So UNESCO is convinced that no development can be sustainable without a strong cultural component. And indeed, only human-centered approach to development based on mutual respect and open dialogue among culture can lead to a lasting, inclusive, equitable results. Yet, until recently, culture has been missing from development equation. And what I just said, in all our UNESCO programs, that is what we strive to do. And try to encourage our development partners, everybody involved in development activities, that they should not leave culture out. So what brings us today really is to make sure that we follow on in implementing the culture program, and most importantly focusing on culture, especially in 2005 convention. The 2005 convention is one of the conventions that UNESCO, which as a country have ratified. So 2005 convention looks at the developmental part, the economy part of culture, where we are saying now we're making a living. But within that, we realize that there's a gap, and that gap we are going to be addressing with this meeting that we're having here. And that gap is with our cultural policy. We realize that our cultural policy has loopholes, and we are going to help each other here to identify them and find ways to merge them. And your participation is very, very important. Experiences culture. Police are not trying to make police you should say if I share that maybe you do not really if culture and development. Since more every woman to standards about challenges sitting me more to someone identify how is it create culture it was idea having a welcome and in Lagaleta facility November. Thank you.
So very first, Nematsuana has done a beautiful job in terms of trying to help us understand what is it that we are doing and why we are here. So why are we here? The purpose. The reason why we are here is that we are going to map the digital readiness of Lesotho. We have the cultural policy that has been pending for quite some years. And now we realize that our cultural policy is lagging behind, is not catching up with rapid innovation, rapid environmental changes. The reason why we are here, it is because we want to catch up. And how do we catch up? We are going to catch up using the 2005 Convention framework, which dictates how we need to catch up so that we become relevant at the global level, at the continental level, at the regional level, and also at the national level. So how is this process going to happen? The way this process is going to take form is going to take form through interviews, it will take form through workshops. Like today we are going to have our first technical workshop, and I would like to also introduce what we call the national team. Everybody that is sitting in here, everybody that is sitting in here has been nominated by the Department of Arts and Culture to represent their space as national team members. So the process of the national team is that there are going to be workshops, there will be interviews, there will also be evaluation questionnaires just to find out if we are on the same page and on the right track. What is the expected outcome of this process? We expect that we will have a national digital roadmap for CCI, aligned with NSDP 2, aligned with AU Digital Strategy, and UNESCO framework that I talked about, which is set within the 2005 Convention, and build an inclusive, evidence-based consultation. Digitally inclined, na di tshwanela go di se go sefe ke yona ntho eo o tshwanela go retsa ka mona re fumane yo re ithuta go yetsa letsatsi lena la ka jeno e le go etlela ga ya go mpha wa bona ka ntle ka mane ba teng ka ga industry re be re tseba bona re bua se go ile se se sa mfuta o fe.
My hope with this first session and today is that we will leave knowing the story we are writing together, the story that we are creating together, that we will see the distinct faces of that story and how we fit in, all right, in writing a better, more powerful story. And then we will basically look at the process we will use in order to tell that story. I mentioned, I think probably, just looking down and looking at the mountains, I understood why this is the mountain kingdom. I understood for the first time. I read about it, but it's not until I watched it and I saw it. And when it comes to I've climbed mountains. I'm a 960 climbing mountains. And you know that movement, how well you advance in your trek, basically depends on the terrain of the mountain, right? And that's why you need to go with mountaineers on a mountain trek. People who understand where the paths are, okay? And together, we have got collective wisdom to understand the paths we shall chart together as a cultural and creative industries to navigate the mountain we want to conquer together. You need to understand if there are rivers, like when I first climbed Mount Kenya, okay, and I could need to just drink water from the source and to be able to cross over, the rivers in the lower parts of the mountain, and to know where there might be a bridge, not the kind of bridges, but basically, man-made, handcrafted bridges to make you cross over. All right? What bridges do we need to build as CCIs? So that thing that frustrates us so much, how we can have all the cultural assets, but in terms of economic output from it, these are very frustrating. Or in terms of basically amplifying our content, not within, Lesotho, within the region, the SADC region, across the continent, and over. What are the bridges? What are the bridges that are missing for us to make that connection? Okay? And that's what we will be doing together. This project is similar, all right? It's similar to that mountain climb. And we will be doing 3 things that we will talk about a little later. And the question, we'll answer the question who's creating, where what tools, we'll go through all that. Now, so here's my invitation to you. My invitation to you is to be part of making the Lesotho creative, cultural and creative landscape visible. Lesotho, in SADC, in Africa, the world. That's the exercise we are involved, we're basically involved in. But to do that, we first require evidence. Where are we? Isn't it? Before embarking on any trek, on any journey, you've got to answer that, where am I? I can see with my mind, the eye of my mind, where we want to go, but where are we? And we need evidence to answer that question. And soon we'll be talking about how we will gather evidence through the mapping of the cultural and creative industry. Because we need empirical evidence to make informed policy choices. Okay. And then the question is the ownership. Because ultimately, and this is how UNESCO has designed this process, is to make it as inclusive as possible. In other words, government, civil society, the associations, the organizations, and all that, cultural entrepreneurs, which is the private sector, right? And other private sectors that may support, may are supportive actors for the cultural and creative industries. For example, people don't recognize that event planners are actually cultural entrepreneurs. You see, they are seen more, and that's why even when you're capturing data, there are times you miss data simply because of classification. Because, event organizers, particularly who are inclined towards cultural and creativity, they are really cultural entrepreneurs, or whether that's, ecotourism or whatever it is. Okay, right? And so, in terms of ownership, and then, of course, the purpose.